G'day, my name's David Burton, and this is a brief outline of my research for the Doctorate of Creative Industries. Since 2012, I've been part of a core creative team that has facilitated a series of large-scale, free, outdoor, original musical theatre events across regional Queensland for Queensland Music Festival. So in 2013, I was Assistant Director and Writer on Boomtown in Gladstone. In 2015, I was Assistant Director and Writer on Under This Sky in Logan. And in 2017, I am Director and Writer on The Power Within for the Isaac Regional Council. These projects, with cast members in the hundreds and audience members in the thousands, are completely unique works of community cultural engagement. For the purposes of my research, I'm most interested in the writing process, how I, as a writer, can best engage with a community with integrity and create, with them, a script that is unique to their town. As such, my research question is, what are the modes and means of narrative production in large-scale community productions, particularly in regional Queensland? For these works, the writer exists at the centre of a trinity of stakeholders, each with their own demands and agendas. Firstly, the artist. The narrative is shaped through the writer in collaboration with the director, choreographer, music director, creative producer, and production designer. This first point of the triangle is the most predictable and the most similar to other practices of theatre. The second point, institutions, means the narrative is affected by funding bodies, all three levels of government, corporate sponsors, and the leadership team at QMF. There is a substantial amount of literature that notes the predictable tension between artists and funding bodies, with numerous case studies suggesting that a final work is unconsciously shaped by those who patronize it. The QMF writing experience, however, presents a more complex relationship. In the case of the Marine Authority in Gladstone, for example, who donated not only money, but 2 tugboats and 2 drivers to perform the tugboat ballet in the show, all while the show's main character complains that Gladstone is crap and filled with money-grubbing corporate giants. The third point of the triangle, the community, is the most influential on the narrative and is shaped by several decades of Australian community cultural development processes. The Australian government was the first to identify community cultural development as a priority in 1987, funding hundreds of pioneering works that provide an ever-expanding lexicon of community practice. This makes Australia a world leader in community cultural development. It gave birth to an entire lexicon of CCD, such as community arts, community-based arts, participatory arts projects, community-engaged arts, and many more. The QMF process sits somewhere within this taxonomy, and yet apart from it. The scale of its outcome and its style of delivery renders it unique. I seek to articulate this process from me, the writer's point of view. Hidden within this triangle, of course, is my own artistry, what I bring to the table as a playwright, my knowledge of myth, of theatrical form, of Boal and Forum theatre, or Brecht and epic theatre. The author is long dead. Now we must see how the ghost of the writer can empower communities to tell their stories and shape their narratives, which we now understand has important links to civic well-being and community resilience. The Australia Council for the Arts has long celebrated works for, by, and with the community, but to pretend that this process is at all alike to the skills a playwright develops in writing for mainstream or even fringe theatre is absurd. The playwright must draw on an entirely separate set of skills. So, Project 1. I'll write a book that examines the case studies of the 3 shows, Boomtown, Under This Sky, and The Power Within, and through them create a model for writing community-engaged theatrical works that is replicable, scalable, and accessible. I hope that the work will serve as a pedagogical text for my peers and emerging artists. There will be an exegesis to accompany the work that will explore the theoretical construction behind the work as it is informed by literature. Project 2 will be a demonstrable test of the model on a project. This may be the next iteration of the QMF process for the 2019 festival, or it may be used in another community work. The essay that accompanies this reflection will be a rigorous examination of the model in practice, placing the relationship between the artistic work and Project 1 in a larger theoretical context to better understand Project 1's true usefulness and value in the field. The presiding theoretical paradigm that will dictate the analysis of the data is that of community arts practice. This is a messy series of terms, however, so I'm first turning to sociology to better define community, using Gerard Delanty's work as a starting point and drawing on others that have spun off from him, like Martin Milligan down in Melbourne, who links this work to the arts via concepts of celebration and civic well-being, tenets that are essential values for all of the artists, including the writer, in the QMF process. From there, I'm using that trinity of stakeholders to examine how the script is shaped. So my research will obviously involve case studies of the three productions, informed by my own reflective practice from my journals, along with interviews and surveys of key participants. These will include the other artists who are part of the core team, community cast members and musicians, as well as institutional stakeholders such as the executive team at Queensland Music Festival and councillors and mayors of the respective relevant regions. In addition, the research will be supported by textual analysis through contextual and literature reviews. The works exist as part of a larger history of Australian community theatre work. They borrow extensively from well-mapped traditions, while also leading into new practices. I believe the QMF process will make an important contribution to the work of scholars attempting to articulate new community theatre practice today, practically tackling key issues for the field, such as racial identity politics in community theatre practice, participatory practice and story knowing in community arts, tensions in the management of artistic funding relationships, and the definition of quality and excellence in community theatre practice. There will be ethical consideration for the research process. Ethics approval will be sought from Queensland Music Festival and participating institutions. They'll be made fully aware of their rights. Human participants and interviewees will also require ethical clearance. Once again, they'll be made completely aware of their rights. All participation in the study is voluntary and can be withdrawn at any time. Copyright of imagery, music and video from the productions will be gained, or sought at the very least. In summary, it's my hope that the research will contribute to knowledge by providing a rigorous examination of a unique community arts practice from the point of view of the playwright, providing a best practice model for creative practitioners in the field. Thanks so much, guys.